Grandfather's many faces. Grandfather had many gifts, but perhaps the most unusual and at times startling was his ability to disguise himself and take on the persona of another person, often a street vendor or carpenter or washerman, someone he had seen around for some time and whose habits and characteristics he had studied. His normal attire was that of the average Anglo-Indian or Englishman. Bush shirt, khaki shorts, occasionally a sola topi or sun helmet. But if you rummage through his cupboards, you would find a strange assortment of garments. Dhotis, lungis, pajamas, embroidered shirts and colorful turbans. He could be a Maharaja one day, a beggar the next. Yes, he even had a brass begging bowl, but he used it only once, just to see if he could pass himself off as a bent double beggar hobbling through the bazaar. He wasn't recognized, but he had to admit that begging was a most difficult art. You know, you have to be on the street all day and in all weathers, he told me that day. You have to be polite to everyone. No beggar succeeds by being rude. You have to be alert all the times. It's hard work, believe me. I wouldn't advise anyone to take up begging as a profession. Grandfather really liked to get the feel of someone else's occupation or lifestyle, and he enjoyed playing tricks on his friends and relatives. Grandmother loved bargaining with shopkeepers and vendors of all kinds. She would boast that she could get the better of most men when it came to hanging over the price of onions or cloth or baskets or buttons. Until one day, the sabziwala, a wandering vegetable seller, who carried a basket of fruits and vegetables on his head, spent an hour on the veranda arguing with Granny over the price of various items before finally selling her what she wanted. Later that day, Grandfather confronted Granny and insisted on knowing why she had paid extra for tomatoes and green chilies. Far more than you would have paid in the bazaar, he said. How do you know what I paid him? Asked Granny. Because here is the 10 rupee note you gave me, said Grandfather, handing back her money. I changed into something suitable and borrowed the sabziwala's basket for an hour. Grandfather never used makeup. He had a healthy tan, and with the help of a false moustache or beard and a change of hairstyle, he would become anyone he wanted to be. For my amusement, he became a tongawala, that is, the driver of a pony-drawn buggy, a common form of conveyance in the days of my boyhood. Grandfather borrowed a tonga from one of his cronies and took me for a brisk and eventful ride around the town. On our way, we picked up the odd customer and earned few rupees, which were dutifully handed over to the tonga owner at the end of the day. We picked up Dr. Bisht, our local doctor, who failed to recognize him. But of course, I was the giveaway. And what you were doing here? Asked the good doctor. Shouldn't you be in school? I'm just helping Grandfather, I replied. It's part of my science project. Dr. Bisht then took a second look at my grandfather and burst out laughing. He also insisted on a free ride. On one occasion, Grandfather drove Granny to the bank without recognizing him, and that too in a tonga with a white pony. Granny was superstitious about white ponies and avoided them as far as possible. But Grandfather, in his tonga driver's disguise, persuaded her that his white pony was the best behaved little pony in the world. And so it was, under his artful guidance. As a result, Granny lost her fear of white ponies. One winter, the Gemini Circus came to our place. It was a small North Indian town and set up its tent on the old parade ground. Grandfather, who liked circuses and circus people, soon made friends with all the show folk. The owner, the ringmaster, the lion tamer, the pony riders, clowns, trapeze artists, and acrobats. He told me that as a boy he had always wanted to join a circus, preferably as an animal trainer or ringmaster. But his parents had persuaded him to become an engine driver instead. Driving an engine must be fun, I said. Yes, but lions are safer, said grandfather. And he used his friendship with the circus folk to get free passes for me, my cousin Melanie, and my small friend Gautam, who lived next door. Aren't you coming with us? I asked grandfather. I'll be there, he said. I will be with my friends. See if you can spot me. We were convinced that grandfather was going to adopt one of his disguise and take part in the evening's entertainment. So, for Melanie, Gautam and me, the evening turned out to be a guessing game. We were enthralled by the show's highlights. The tigers going through their drill, the beautiful young men and women on the flying trapeze, the daring motorcyclist bursting through a hoop of fire, the jugglers and clowns. But we kept trying to see if we could recognize grandfather among the performers. We couldn't make too much of noise because in the row behind us sat some of the town's senior citizens, the mayor, the turbaned Maharaja, a formally dressed Englishman with a military bearing, a couple of nuns, and Gautam's class teacher. But we kept our chatter for the most of the show. Is your grandfather the lion tamer? Asked Gautam. I don't think so, I said. He hasn't had any practice with the lions. He is better with the tigers. But there was someone else in charge of the tigers. He could be one of the jugglers, said Melanie. He is taller than the jugglers, I said. Gautam made an inspired guess. Maybe he is the bearded lady? We looked hard and long at the bearded lady when she came to our side of the ring. She waved to us in a friendly manner and Gautam called out, Excuse me, are you Ruskin's grandfather? No, dear, she replied with a deep laugh. I am his girlfriend, and she skipped away to another part of the ring. A clown came up to us and made funny faces. Are you grandfather? Asked Melanie. But he just grinned, somersaulted backwards, and went about his funny business. I give up, said Melanie, unless he is the dancing bear. It's a real bear, said Gautam. Just look at those claws. The bear looked real enough. So did the lion, through a trifle mangy, and the tigers looked tigerish. We all went home, convinced that grandfather hadn't been there at all. So, did you enjoy the circus? He asked when we sat down to dinner later that evening. Yes, but you weren't there, I complained. And we took a close look at everyone, including the bearded lady. Oh, I was there all right, said grandfather. I was sitting just behind you, but you were too absorbed in the circus and the performers to notice the audience. I was the smart-looking Englishman in suit and tie sitting between the Maharaja and the nuns. I thought I would just be myself for a change.